Hi everybody, it's Anna. Time for a new tarot story this week. So we start with a major arcana card, big life lesson, and it is Death Reversed. So the lesson of the Death card is that we need to release systems of authority that don't match us so we can do something new. And actually, if you look at the card, you can see that's what's being depicted here. We have a skeleton knight on his horse. He's riding into town, and already there's a fella on the ground. And this fella's dressed in royal robes, and his crown's off his head. So it's like he's been dethroned. He's been knocked out of his position of authority because his time is over. The time of this authority is that this regime has ended. It's time for something else to begin. And in the background, you can see there's a sunrise. And that implies the new beginning. Once death occurs, this is true in the tarot and in life, death always makes room for a new life. So we get rid of the old guy and get ready for something new. So the old oppressor, the old authority is usually a system that we've been given from the world around us, system of rules or expectations or a moral code that we've been functioning inside of for a while, but now we're clear that it's not really supporting us. It's actually restricting us or bringing us to a place of judgment, or it's counterintuitive actually to what we're called to be. So this system wasn't built for us. This authority system is not built for us, and it's too small for us, or it's not resonant with what we are doing. So we realize it's time to get rid of that authority. That's no longer our authority because that system doesn't know how to do what we're doing. That's why it's not our authority. It doesn't know what we're doing. It doesn't know how to make possible what we're doing. So we have to get rid of that and replace it with a system that matches us. The reversal here suggests to me we might be getting stuck in the middle of that process because it's not enough to get rid of your old authority system. Then you have to become your own authority. And so that's actually a separate kind of energy. It's not always that difficult to get rid of things that oppress us, right? Like, because when you're being oppressed or you're feeling restricted, it is painful. And it's like you keep banging your head against something. It's easy to identify this as not helpful, right? And even if there's been in the past some sense of safety about that, now we're like, it's not worth it being safe anymore. It's driving me crazy. It's giving me a headache. I'm ready to get rid of that. So getting rid of an oppressor is not as challenging, I would say, as then deciding you are going to be your authority. That means it's up to you now to create the system by which you move forward in the world. And this is the primary challenge of most creative intuitives is you have to have faith in yourself. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to know how to receive the messages of your own wisdom and to trust them in moving forward. If you stay in the reverse position, basically you get rid of an old authority, but you don't fill it with something new. Now you've created a void, and you're going to fill that void with something else, right? And it's going to be, if you're not willing to be your own authority, then you're going to take on another version of authority. Another king's going to move in here and set up another system of authority, which isn't going to work for you. Then you'll have to do the death again, right? So there comes a point, and many of us do this, we'll go through several different versions of authority, several different systems, several different ideas, and none of them end up working. None of them end up being big enough for what you need to do, which means eventually you have to get rid of them all, and you have to become your own authority. So I feel like the work this week in the tarot story is about surfacing your own authority. I think that's what the rest of the cards are about this week. So how do we not replace one tyrant with another tyrant? How do we become the authorities of our own life and move forward in confidence and clarity? Because I think that ultimately the only sustainable solution for creative intuitives is to become your own authority and to actually set aside the theory that you're going to find it outside yourself, because you're not. So that's our card for today. See you tomorrow for our next one. Bye. Hey everybody, it's Anna. Time for the Wednesday card in this week's tarot story. So today we have the Two of Cups. Cups are connected to the heart. They're about intuitive wisdom, connecting with other people, as well as having emotional fulfillment. And I connect the number 2 in the tarot with germination. It's like you planted the seed and now the seed's in the ground and it's digging in its roots, and it has to dig in its roots far enough before the plant comes to the surface, which is the 3 point. So this is the point where we're germinating, we're getting our seeds in the ground in order to create a sustainable product as we move forward. So this card shows two people sharing cups together. I think of this as being a moment of communion and partnership. But it's not just a casual partnership. This is a partnership of the heart. This is about being uncensored and naked in our hearts with somebody else, and having that person see us and receive us and communicate to us that we are lovable and worthy. And this is a seed, this is the rooting in part of the spiritual journey. Without this, we don't have, the plant that grows is not strong. This is where we get strength in our journey. And that's because for the heart to function well, it needs connection. It needs to have itself reflected back by somebody else, right? And so when the heart gets the message that we are seen, we are loved, we are worthy, the heart feels stronger, it feels braver. And then we get to the 3 point in the spiritual journey, which is the heart, manifests into the world, right? The challenge here, and I think all of us have people in our lives that offer this kind of partnership. The challenge is most of us have learned to fixate on the people who don't offer this to us, that don't understand us, they criticize us, they challenge us, they don't see necessarily the value of what we're bringing because they're not valuing themselves. That's what this is, right? If you can't offer this kind of partnership to somebody else, it's because you don't have this feeling yourself. And we get it from each other, right? So the problem is the fear of being rejected, of being found unworthy, causes us to veil ourselves, to not be seen the way we really are. And that veil, our veil, interacts with other people's veils, and nothing authentic is happening. And the message we're all getting is we're not worthy of authentic connection. So that is often where our attention is focused, at least early on in our spiritual path. We're afraid of being told we're not lovable. That fear is causing us to hide. And then that expectation creates the reaction. It keeps reinforcing itself. We're afraid, they're afraid, we scare each other, and we go further into hiding. But and so the heart never gets strong. It never gets confident. It never really shows it. Like the root system never develops fully because we're not getting that sort of one-on-one someone seeing us and loving us as we are. So to do this step, you have to be brave. That means you have to give someone else the benefit of the doubt and let them see you as you are, and you see them as they are, and allow yourself to be nurtured in that moment. Without this, the heart goes forward kind of in a wounded way, or maybe it doesn't even go forward at all. That's actually the challenge here. If the seed doesn't form a root, it doesn't show up on the planet, right? So yesterday's card was Death Reversed, and we talked about what it means to release an old authority, that if you're going to release an old authority, you have to become that authority yourself. This is how you start that journey. If you can't trust your own heart, if you can't value your own expression, then you don't value your own authority, and it's impossible to step into that role yourself. So the invitation here is to look for the people who do see you as you are. The people you might discard simply because you think, oh, they're too easy on me, they're too nice to me, oh, they just love me. Like we're discarding people because they love us, right? Like my husband, I'll speak for myself. My husband is always loving. He is always supportive. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how I act. He's like, yes, everything you do is great. So my mind goes, man, he is not a critical thinker. He is not seeing things realistically, right? It's easy for me to think that his opinion, because he loves me, is less valuable than a random stranger's opinion who doesn't even know me, which is stupid, right? But that is the way the mind sort of sets things up. The mind is looking at the world as though it's dangerous, and it's looking to have that validated by seeing all the people who don't love me. We want the mind instead to do this, to train itself to value and have gravity around the people who love you, and let go of the other people who don't love you, who don't see you, who don't know you. Because the truth is, love is true, and criticism is not true. And the reason I say that is because if someone's taking the time to criticize you, they have their own bone to pick. That's something inside of them. They want to pick on somebody. That's because there's something dissonant inside themselves. That's not really about me. But if someone says they love me, what other reason do they have to say that except that it's true? So consider looking where your mind is focusing incorrectly on what relationships have to be in the world. Consider the relationships you're discarding because you've decided this person doesn't have, their opinion doesn't matter because their opinion is that they love you. And instead begin to shift into that. Give yourself access to the people in your life who love you as you are, who aren't criticizing you, who aren't trying to change you, who don't even need to, maybe they don't even understand you. They don't even have to understand you. They just love you because they love you. And start seeing that as the standard, not the exception. That's our card for today. See you tomorrow. Bye. Hey everybody, it's Anna. Welcome to the Thursday card in this week's tarot story. So today we have the Four of Cups. Yesterday we had the Two of Cups. So there's clearly a theme forming here in what we're being invited to consider. The number 4 is connected in my mind to creating a stable foundation on which you can build more stuff, right? So if you think about a table that is stable, it has 4 legs. They're all the same size or the same length so that it doesn't wobble. It just feels like it's a safe place on which to build. Cups are connected to the heart. They're about following your intuitive wisdom, connecting with others, and letting your emotions sort of guide you in your fulfillment. So we talked yesterday about the 2 is sort of the rooting in card. Like it's when you plant the seed in the ground, there's a time where you don't see any activity above ground because all the activity is below ground where the seed is digging in its roots before and getting the roots deep enough so that when the plant comes up, it is stable. The same kind of thing is happening here where now the plant is above ground, but now we're trying to create a foundation on which the plant can really grow and build momentum. So the energy here is about creating this foundational relationship with your heart. So it's about recognizing when your heart's talking to you, stopping what you're doing and letting it surface all the way and then giving it the proper gravity you want to give it because it is genius, it is wisdom. So the guy here is sitting out by himself under a tree. It's like he's separating himself from the voices around him so he can really listen to the voice of his own heart. So the invitation here is to recognize that your relationship with your intuition, with your heart needs to be, it needs to be prioritized. You've got to carve out a space in your life to listen to this. You do this because you want to create a reliable relationship with your heart, which means that you can tell when your heart's talking to you. This is actually really, it's foundational, right? Because as you go forward in your journey, new things happen, new opportunities pop up. You try this, you try different action steps. There's lots of things happening. Momentum gets pretty high, and you need to be in the middle of that momentum to be able to hear this still small voice of the heart. And to recognize, to stop what you're doing, to not get so caught in your momentum that you're going to do it no matter what. You want to be able to stop what you're doing, hit the brakes, and listen. Because at this point, you have a reliable relationship with your intuition. So, we're talking about the Tuesday card was Death Reversed, which is about getting rid of an old authority, becoming your own authority. This is important to become your own authority. If you're going to call your shots, you want to feel confident in doing that. And that means you are not excluding voices within yourself that are talking. You are listening. You're willing to pause what you're doing, to even change direction if necessary, because what you're accomplishing is not as much about manifesting something at the end of the journey. It is actually developing a loving relationship within yourself, which means you don't exclude yourself. You don't exclude voices. You don't ignore your pain. You don't ignore your struggle. You're responsive to that. You're responsive to that struggle in a loving and compassionate way. Because when you do that, when you access love in that way, that is actually where all the magic comes from. It comes from that place of love and connection. So it's less important where you're going than how you get there, right? So this card, I think, is another piece of the puzzle in becoming your own authority. You stop listening to the voices outside yourself and you go inward. This is the relationship that will stabilize you and make it possible for you to do all kinds of cool things. That's our card for today. See you tomorrow for our last one. Bye. Hey everybody, it's Anna. Welcome to the final card in this week's tarot story. So we're closing the week with the Five of Pentacles reversed. So pentacles are connected to the physical realm where things manifest. So it's stuff you can see and taste and touch. It's money and jobs and hobbies, as well as your own physical wellness and vitality. The number 5, I always talk about as being the challenge point. It's the crossing over point in the spiritual journey. The point where you either commit and you hit that gas and you push past the challenge, or you hit the brakes, you get nervous, you hit the brakes, and you kind of slide back down and you have to kind of repeat the first part of your journey, a few pieces of that over again. So it really is the point of no return. This is where you decide, are you going to do it or you're not going to do it, right? So the card here shows two people who are poor and struggling. It's a very heavy feeling card. They're barefoot walking in snow. One of them has a broken leg. So clearly they're having a rough time. And in this moment, they're both looking forward, almost like they're just focusing on the next step, right? I think of the phrase, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, right? That's sort of that's a virtue that I was preached when I was younger. And I'm not saying that that can't be a virtue for some people. I'm saying it's not for me. I will speak for myself, because it turns out my journey, I'm a creative, intuitive person, and my journey is more benefited by ease and flow than by my own determination. And I feel like that's how I read this card. That's why I read the card this way, is that if you sort of hunker down and push, you're kind of going into your own reserves. There is a limitation to that. You're going to get to the end of your energy. You really are. We're in a physical plane. That means, there is a limit to the energy available in a physical body. You will finally get sick or die if you don't take the time to be refreshed and supported and all that stuff. And I feel like that's the challenge point here. If you think that your success is determined and supported only by your own grit and determination, you will fail this challenge point. The solution to this challenge point is here in the stained glass window. I always point that out. They're passing by a church. And in the medieval times, which is when the tarot was created, the church was a place. It was a hospital. It was a place of food and sanctuary, right? So they have an opportunity to rest and be fulfilled and be supported. Or are they going to see it? That's the challenge. That's always the challenge. So I think of this reversal here as, well, I guess it can go either way, but I will read it positively, because I feel like the work we've done this week has been about the Two of Cups and the Four of Cups, which is about gaining authority by allowing ourselves to be loved by others and by valuing our own intuitive genius. Those are the two steps we've been given on the Wednesday and Thursday card, which means if you have done that, if you've stopped if you pulled your attention out of outer authority, what other people think, how they think it should go, which was the Death reverse card, which was the Tuesday card, if you have stepped out of that and you've begun to nurture your own authority, which means you are listening to the voice of your own wisdom and genius, you will discover that this happens. The challenge is already met, because once you start orienting yourself to your genius knows how to interact in the physical world. That means the path opens up in a way you didn't expect, right? So you're not trying to push and make a path and forge your path. The path sort of opens up in a way that is surprising and delightful and magical. So the reversal of this card is actually having met the challenge. And having recognized that, if I can just relax and go into flow and trust myself and sort of surface my ability to be loved by the Two of Cups and to love myself, the Four of Cups, then the universe easily flows in to give me the support that I'm looking for. So I'm going to read the card this way. So look at how the world has softened, has opened up, has become more receptive to you when you have become more receptive to yourself. That is the way energy flows. When going gets tough, the tough get tougher. If you're getting tougher in your journey, you're shutting out support. That's what toughening is. It's making yourself a hard shell. It's protecting yourself, becoming a tough guy, right? That is limiting what can get through into you. That's limiting the support you can receive. If you soften and go in flow and become gentle to yourself, then you become you become porous. You're able to permeate. The love of the universe is able to permeate you and give you support. And then you can flow easily past this challenge point. So in this case, the reversal is the challenge doesn't even really register because you're already past it. Isn't that a great way of reading the card? So that's our tarot story for this week. See you next time. Bye.